22 points per game. Have you put on the math cap? Can you think of a way
Yeah.
there? And by the way, this is, I'm assuming, Jamie, this isn't as a rookie. This is, fully actualized, realized Collin Murray-Boyles.
Okay, so I think it's unlikely that he ever gets there. Let's start with that. But if we're going to get there, I think you have to start with um, garbage points filling in the gap. So I think you need something like 4 off the offensive glass, which is
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of points. You need, I don't know, 5 off free throws. He got 4 last year in college. I think you need something like 5 off free throws a game. That's a lot. Um, Transition, you need maybe another 4. That's like it's got to come just not in the flow. It's just wherever you can find the ball, you you get put it in, right? So what is that? 5-4-4. That's 13. So I mean that's an incredible base. That's pretty high. There's a lot of free throws in there and
Mm-hmm.
fast break points. I don't know if anyone scores 4 a game other than Giannis, but um,
Probably Ochai
let's just say.
Abaji, quite frankly.
um, then in the half court, you need to like. I don't see it coming anywhere in one spot. You need to get like 2 as a pick and roll screener, right? You're fed the points. That's 15. You need to get, 2 off cuts, 17. And then I maybe you get 2 a game off isolation or post or whatever. But I don't see it without at least 3, minimum 3 from the 3-point range. Like you got to make 1 a game, something like that.
The big thing, and like that's how you get to that's 22 for
That's
listeners who
22.
weren't adding up. And I love that you took it literally because I'm gonna go. You've given that's the numbers, and of course it will shift game to game. But the
No.
real pitch here for him being a 22 point per game scorer is that it's closer to 1.5 to 2 makes a game from three. And that means that it not only develops, but it develops quite well. And it
Yeah.
becomes like he becomes a guy who slips screens and hits threes, catches in the pocket, gets to swing his foot in, gets to hit it. And then also the correlation with that is that he draws closeouts and gets to attack them going downhill. And that the flow of pick and roll, because he is a good screener, and I suspect he'll be a very strong screener at the NBA level, especially depending on who guards him. But just getting to be a player who's put in those cat and mouse actions where he can really dominate with his speed and strength, that's what's going to put him in the position to actually score. If it's 22 a game, which I also agree with you, I don't think I'd be surprised if he could still be an all-star, but 22 a game would be a heavy, heavy ask. um, it's tough to get there without the 3-point shot to tease and pull guys out. That creates more advantages for his driving game. Now, without the 3-point shot, I still think there's reasons for him to be able to score the ball. As you said, getting it on the offensive glass for a game would be a lot, but getting one and putting it back up is perfectly fine. I think as a guy who runs out in transition, he'd be more like a trailer who catches and gets to take it if he's running out. But he can also create his own turnovers and go and finish.
Yeah.
He might get a boost as a transition scorer because of his ability to harass players out above the break.
OG Ananobi.
Yep. And as far as like cutting, a lot of this, if he's used as a big, he can semicircle cut and he can just shift and move around the basket and score there. But ideally, you probably want him to be a guy like think about his driving game, develop your 3-point shot, exist on the perimeter more often, and threaten slow footed bigs with like this rapid little round mound of rebound thing by like getting to their chest and bursting forward and creating these rotations. That's the ideal situation for him. If he is just a guy who like hunkers down in the dunker, that's not ideal for him, but he can score those points. I just
Yeah.
think for 22 points per game, the shot really does have to come around. But I do feel good about him without the shot, being a guy who draws fouls, being a guy who can catch on the short roll and score and make plays, and the guy who will, offensive rebound for baskets, a guy who will garbage man for baskets, and a guy who, depending on what big kind of steps out on him, can take them off the dribble. That's the roadmap to like 10 or 11 a game in the early goings on. But 22, I mean, that is a lot of points, especially with where the NBA is going. It's starting to flatten out a little bit, even as the numbers go up for points per game. It's tough to get to 22 without being like, this guy's a badass scorer as soon as he steps foot in the league. I mean, Colin Sexton gave you 24, I understand, but Colin Sexton knew what he wanted to do that season, down to the everything.
Scotty Barnes never hit 20.
Not even
22 is a big number.
19.9.